In the preceding video, you installed the Dataflow Geometry 2D software app on your computer. And so in this video, you're going to get your hands dirty learning how to use the Dataflow Editor. When you launch the app for the first time, it should come up looking like this. You'll see three windows. The one on top is called the Editing Guide. And what I'd like you to do is just park that down below. We'll come back to that a little later. Let's take this black window and slide it to the right to fully uncover the gray window. Now, the gray window is going to be our Dataflow editor. This is where we're going to be inputting all of our calculations. The black window is the 2D Cartesian workspace. This is where we're going to get our graphics feedback on how we're doing with our calculations. And if this window is overhanging the right side of your monitor and you can't see the whole thing, at this point, let's pull it back into the center. And you'll note this button called half width. And so what we can do is resize this workspace to take only half the room. And it should fit exactly side by side with the Dataflow editor on a standard Windows monitor, which is 1920 horizontal pixels. If that's still not going to work for you to see both windows at the same time, you're not going to like it too much to be having to do this all the time. So you can never see both at the same time. I think that's going to cause a lot of anguish. And so if that's the case, I'd stop at this point and get yourself an external monitor. And then you can splay out both windows full size. All right, the editing guide. This isn't for use right now. This is for much later after you've been through your training on the Dataflow editor. And it's just there as a reference if you've forgotten how to accomplish one of the specific Dataflow editing manipulations. So I'm going to have you dismiss it. You'll notice you get a button right here, editing guide, so you can always bring it back up anytime you need it. So let's dive right in and learn how to use this Dataflow editor. Well, what is it? In the simplest terms, it's just a calculator. Okay, well, let's take something real simple like adding 2 plus 2. How do we do that? Okay, so if you go over to the top left corner, you're going to see some real number buttons. These black squares are buttons. And I want to add, so I see one here with a plus sign on it. I'm going to peck once. And what I get is a real number adder module. And you can just drag it around, drag it to the center of your editor. You just pull it by the center of the body to move it around. And we're going to need some numbers as inputs. So let's go back up here to real number. And this top orange button gives us a real number variable. So let's pull that over here. How do I poke a numeric value into it? I just double click on the body. You get an input dialog. I'm going to enter the number 2. And we'll need one more of those, just the same. So let's go back for a second. Real number. And enter 2. And last step, we'll just drag these into their sockets. And I will point out here, you can't drag in any direction except horizontally to have it lock in. And we do that to make sure that you're only getting the connections you're intending to make as these editor screens get busier with modules. 2 plus 2 equals 4. Okay, so what you'll notice as you get more experienced is that when the last input has been furnished to a module, it automatically calculates its output, which you see comes out of this output triangle here. And also, you can drag this around. Now, you'll notice everything's glued together as one assembly. And it works as one calculating module. Okay, so we've worked with addition. Let's just move this down here to the bottom right. And what I'm going to leave you with as an exercise is now utilizing the other three arithmetic operations. So you'll get a subtractor, a multiplier, and a divider. And just spread these out on your screen like so. And what I want you to do as an exercise is to load these with input data. Just show yourself how easy it is to build these little calculators. And we'll pause here so you can do your exercise, and then when you're done, resume. Okay, so you got through that exercise just fine. Where we're going to go next here, this is very simple. We have a tool down here called the dumpster. If I want to clean up, I'm not going to use this, so I'll just take the module assembly, any part of it, just have it overhang the edge of the dumpster and it'll go away. Okay, so what we're going to figure out next is how to undo these connections. And for that, I'm going to introduce to you some modifier keys on your keyboard for special purposes. And you'll notice down here in the bottom left, you won't see this on your version of the software. I've only included it on the instructor's version. And I've done it so that you can see when I'm pressing these three keys on my keyboard. So the Shift key, this is the Control key, and this is the Alt key, which on the Mac is also called the Option key. So Alt or Option. All right, so the first one we're going to learn to use is the Shift key. The meaning of this key as a modifier is it will undo or delete a connection. So in order to, let's say we wanted to get rid of this -8 as a connected input. So all I have to do is hold down my Shift key and click on the link, boom. Now that's disconnected. I don't need this -8. So just give yourself a little practice here. Let's try this again. I'll do a Shift click and that will delete the link. Okay. All right. Get a little practice with that. You can always just join things back together. Use your Shift key as an eraser to delete the link. Okay, so what I'd like to do next, this will be interesting, is I'd like to take 6 and divide it by 2 so I can use the output of this module. And if I drag this over, I'm going to notice this will connect. However, I've got kind of a tight squeeze down here to get that 2 in. And so the next thing we're going to learn how to do is to elongate the module. All I'm doing here is I'm clicking in this indentation, and as I pull down on it, I can slide it vertically, and that will stretch my module. There's no corresponding shrink, so don't overdo it. And these come in discrete steps. So, all right, so now I've got room. I'm just going to mate up my 2. And, okay, so my result of this calculation is 3. If I've forgotten what my input was for the dividend, I can just hover the mouse on the link, see on this input link, and it'll show me the data that's coming in that top input. If I want to have it hold, I can just click anywhere on that link, move my mouse away, and it'll hold it. It toggles on and off with another click in that link. it will toggle off. So 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3. Okay, so just summarizing what we've learned here, we've learned how to hook up these inputs to data. We've learned how to delete those links if we don't want them. We've learned how to stretch a module in order to accommodate a wider input side or input edge. And you can also adjust the output position too here for this output port, just by clicking and dragging either up or down. And finally, when we're all done, we're going to learn how to use this clear key. So if we want to get rid of everything in the Dataflow Editor, I'll hit my clear button, and you do get a dialog to make sure you really want to get rid of it. You have 3 choices: trash it, save it, or cancel. Cancel just takes us back as if we hadn't done it. And we'll learn about save later. So at this point, we're just going to clear out our editor. Boom. Well, I think you can see already it's not going to be that hard to learn how to use this editor to put together calculators that solve problems. In the next video, we're going to add another power feature, and that's the ability to generate graphics.